I'm Paul Arthur. This is Forum Daily West. Here are some of the top stories we have lined up for you tonight. A young Lethbridge boy is charged with attempted murder after allegedly stabbing his 7-year-old brother. Plus, we learned the suspect in yesterday's mass stabbing in Manitoba was out on bail. And Prime Minister Carney announces a new suite of measures to help big and small businesses weather the U.S. tariff storm. Thanks for joining us. We begin with some local breaking news. Lethbridge police have charged a 12-year-old boy with the attempted murder of his younger brother. Back on August 27th at 4:30 p.m., police were called to a Northside townhouse after a father came home and found his 7-year-old son in serious medical distress. Police say they were quick to identify the 12-year-old brother as the suspect after he lied to investigators that an intruder broke into their home and stabbed his younger brother.
The victim's 12-year-old brother said an unknown male entered the residence and stabbed the child before fleeing the scene. The victim was transported by EMS to the Chinook Regional Hospital and later airlifted to Edmonton for further medical treatment. The investigation was immediately assumed by the Criminal Investigations Section. Investigators determined very early on that there was no risk to the public or to neighbors. A search warrant was executed at the residence, and a knife believed to be involved in the offense was seized. As the investigation progressed, evidence was obtained indicating the 12-year-old boy had stabbed his brother repeatedly and believed he'd killed him. He had then lied to his father and investigators about an intruder entering the home. The 12-year-old has been arrested and is charged with aggravated assault and attempted murder. He's currently in custody and awaiting a judicial intern release hearing.
Police say the two boys were home alone at the time of the incident, and the father immediately called 911 when he arrived home about an hour later. The 7-year-old boy remains in hospital in stable condition. Neighbors have told BCN they're shocked to hear the news of the 12-year-old being charged. They say the family mostly kept to themselves and seemed like a quiet family. On the day of the incident, after police arrived, the father told them someone had broken into the house and stabbed his son. Police continue to investigate. The suspect cannot be named under conditions of the Youth Criminal Justice Act. This next story will stoke the flames of the debate around bail reform in this country. Court records show the 26-year-old suspect in yesterday's mass stabbing on a Manitoba First Nation was out on bail while facing other charges. Tyrone Simard was charged with assault with a weapon and mischief for alleged offenses that happened in early June, and a Winnipeg court granted his release soon after with various conditions. Police say Simard killed his sister and attacked several others with a knife on Hollow Water First Nation. He died after the stolen vehicle he was driving crashed into a car driven by a police officer responding to the attack. Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced a number of new measures to support sectors hit hardest by U.S. tariffs. Today in Mississauga, Ontario, Carney announced a new $5 billion fund to help companies in all tariff-affected sectors. He's also expanding support and loans for small and medium businesses and introducing new measures to help workers reskill. And there are big plans on the defense front.
This fall, we will unveil a new defense industrial strategy so that our defense estimates, which will be enormous, our defense investments support the growth of Canadian industries and create Canadian jobs and careers. We'll begin this month our negotiations of a new defense and security partnership with the European Union, and we launched a new trade diversification strategy to develop new export markets. We will soon also release our climate competitiveness strategy to position Canada as a leader in decarbonization. As Canada's new government embarks on these missions, we will work to ensure Canadian businesses and workers have the tools that they need to help drive this transformation.
Carney says Canada can't rely on trade with the U.S. and that his government's new industrial strategy will build an economy that's more resilient to global shocks. The Canadian economy lost jobs for the second month in a row. Statistics Canada says 66,000 jobs were lost in August, compared with 41,000 job losses in July. It says the unemployment rate ticked up to 7.1% last month, the highest level since May of 2016, excluding the pandemic period. A poll of economists before the report's release had expected August to show a gain of 10,000 jobs and the unemployment rate to rise to 7%. Also today, the Prime Minister announced the federal government will waive its electric vehicle sales target for 2026 models. The EV sales mandate introduced by the Liberals under former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau would have required 20% of all new vehicles sold in Canada next year to be electric. Instead, Carney is delaying the mandate for 1 year and launching a full 60-day review of the program to make it more cost-efficient. The decision to delay the mandate comes after months of lobbying from the auto industry, especially in Ontario, which argued that the sales targets were unrealistic and expensive. The federal Liberals have also launched a new $370 million biofuel production incentive to help Canada's canola producers. Prime Minister Carney says it is meant to address what he calls competitiveness challenges as China hit Canadian canola seed with a nearly 76% tariff last month. That move was widely seen as a response to Canada's 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. Ottawa is also temporarily increasing the amount producers can get in interest-free advances and boosting funding to support diversification to new markets. Despite the long list of announcements today from the Prime Minister, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre isn't buying it. Poilievre says this summer has been like the TV show Seinfeld, a show about nothing.
I have to admit, Mark Carney has looked really busy this summer. He's been flying off to Europe to sign declarations of intent that actually mean absolutely nothing. He's been holding roundtables with other politicians. You've seen politicians patting each other on the back, congratulating themselves on all the excellent meetings they've been holding. There have been letters written to ministers that then get leaked to media and are reported with great fanfare on front pages everywhere. My goodness, he's almost as busy and as useless as George Costanza. It has been a big show about nothing. Nothing is getting done under Mark Carney. Everything is getting worse. The American tariffs, which he promised to get rid of by negotiating a win, they're worse. Housing crisis is worse. Food inflation is worse. Crime is worse. Unemployment is worse. Everything has been worse under Mark Carney.
With the fall session of Parliament about a week away, Poilievre says his strategy is to focus on putting paychecks in Canadians' pockets, putting criminals in jail, and getting shovels in the ground on nation-building projects. The federal NDP's leadership race is underway, with the party now releasing its rules for the race. Leadership candidates will have to raise $100,000 and get 500 signatures from members. However, the party has some unique stipulations for this. At least 50% of the total required signatures must be from members who do not identify as a cis man, meaning a biological male. Additionally, a minimum of 100 signatures must be from members of equity-seeking groups such as LGBTQ or racialized individuals. The date of the contest has not yet been set, but the winner will be announced on March 29th at the NDP National Convention. Canada is sending $3 million in humanitarian aid in the wake of the deadly earthquake in Afghanistan. Secretary of State for International Development Randeep Sarai says $1.3 million will go to the World Food Program to scale up its ongoing response. Sarai says another $1 million will go to the International Committee of the Red Cross to help those impacted by last weekend's quake. Canada and Islamic Relief Canada, CARE Canada, and Islamic Relief Canada will both be getting $350,000. The death toll from the quake stands at more than 2,200 people. 2 Canadian patients with spinal cord injuries have received Elon Musk's Neuralink brain implants, which will allow them to control a computer with their thoughts. They are part of the first clinical trial outside of the United States to test the safety and effectiveness of Musk's wireless brain chip, which he introduced to the public in 2020 and was first implanted in a paralyzed American in 2024. The Canadian men, both around 30 years old, one from Ontario, the other from Alberta, have limited or no ability to use their hands.
We are conducting a trial where we are choosing patients that are severely paralyzed in their arms and legs, who cannot move their arms and legs, and we are implanting electrodes in the motor area of their brain so that we can harness the signals from the neurons in their brain and translate those signals and convert them into actions. So it's translating thoughts into actions by implanting electrodes in the brain of people that are paralyzed and recording and harnessing those signals, sending them through Bluetooth outside the brain where they are analyzed, decoded, and then that information can be used to move, first of all, a cursor on a computer. So by just merely thinking,
Israel struck a high-rise building in Gaza City today after first issuing an evacuation warning. Israel's defense minister says the building was being used by terrorists. It's unclear if anyone was killed or injured in the strike. The Israeli military says it will continue to carry out precise targeted strikes against terrorist infrastructure that poses a direct threat to IDF troops as they try to gain control of the city. A Stavely, Alberta woman has been arrested by Canada Border Services Agency officers at the Calgary International Airport for allegedly smuggling drugs after they found 4.5 kilograms of cannabis in her luggage, and her carry-on luggage reportedly had 5.2 grams of fentanyl, 2.1 grams of cocaine, as well as drug paraphernalia. 46-year-old Diane Haydu is scheduled to appear in court in Calgary on September 19th. The Honoring Traditions and Reconciliation Society in Lethbridge say they're excited to host their third annual Pow Wow and Artisan Expo later this month. This year will feature the introduction of their inaugural Princess Pageant Pow Wow, meant to honor young Indigenous women and girls. The Honoring Traditions and Reconciliation Society says events like these help bridge community between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples, in which all are welcome to attend.
We're very excited to honor our young Indigenous women, to kind of build those bridges between reconciliation. So actually I was a princess when I was younger as well, and I feel like it really builds your confidence and it really helps you lean into your own culture and your own traditions with your community. And I feel like it's very important for our young Indigenous women to come out of their shell, and because a lot of us are shy when we're younger. We don't want to talk to anyone, and so it's very important that we're able to build our confidence and come out of our shell and have be that leadership that little other girls are trying to look up to. So.
And when we do these events, it's not just for the Indigenous population, it's for the non-Indigenous that are also invited to be a part of those events that we hold throughout the whole year. We really like to give a shout out to the people who are coming to these events, to start learning about the event, because a lot of times too, they learn and sometimes they get emotional because they didn't understand, they kind of learned a different way of thinking and the truth of who we are as people.
The expo will run through September 13th and 14th at the Agri-Food Hub and Trade Center. The deadline for applying for the Princess Pageant Pow Wow is September 9th. The City of Lethbridge is looking for volunteers to make a difference in our community. Residents can now apply for positions on city boards, commissions and committees, or BCCs, through October 24th. Ryan Westerson, Legislative Services Manager, says participating in a BCC is a meaningful way to contribute to local decision-making and help shape the future of Lethbridge. A variety of roles are available, including advisory, quasi-judicial and governing positions, and training will be provided for all successful applicants.
Something like the Police Commission, our Subdivision Development Appeal Board, our Community Requirements Appeal Board, which is new this year, as well as our library board, the Galt Museum and Archives Board, and the Combative Sports Commission, to name a few. Applicants that are interested in providing their input, some guidance, some advisory capacity and decision making on each of these bodies to help City Council in their overall governance of the City of Lethbridge. We do look for individuals who are over the age of 18. Of course, you need to have a little bit of knowledge of kind of issues within our community as well. On average, we're looking for about 30 vacancies in any given year, and we do way more than that in applications each year. I think last year we had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 150 applications that came in. We're looking for 25 positions across each of these bodies.
Virtual reality is commonly known for enhancing gaming use, but in a local spin, Lethbridge Polytechnic has been practicing project management training scenarios by bringing in VR to enhance learning experiences. The Polytechnic's Spatial Technologies Applied Research and Training Center has completed multiple VR scenarios on behalf of Calgary-based Talio Project Services. The idea is to make clients' learning experiences more immersive and ensure a person's retention of the material.
If we look at project management in its nature, it is a very boring subject. But the importance of it in organizations is critical now and will be ongoing critical. AI is never going to change that. So Taleo made a decision to actively reinforce and encourage young people to learn more about project management. But with its boring topic, we chose virtual reality to engage them and entice them to learn a little bit differently.
Virtual reality is a very engaging technology, and what it allows you to do is have a very focused environment for that learning. The other thing that's really effective about virtual reality is that when you're in that immersive environment,